now is we're centering our landing underpad. Just measure it out. Make sure she's centered, make sure she looks good. And once you've got it centered, tack it down into place. I'm only putting 2 staples in there just because it doesn't really need that many. And if I need to move it a little bit, I still can. Now I'm just gonna follow the contour of the top step with a good blade. I'm not gonna put any staples on at this time. And we're gonna do the same thing that we did with our pad for the bottom stairs. Is we're gonna cut it back 1 inch from the riser. Nice and even with a good sharp blade. And that's the landing pad in place. Now for the fun stuff, the landing. Now, we've got to center this landing, and this is tricky business here. It has to be taken very, very seriously. Now, we've got our tape measure up here, and we know that we're about 6 inches on each side for centering. So on the top, we have a 28-inch runner. On the bottom, we had a 30-inch runner. We want to set up where we're going to be here, so we know where we're going to be here for the cut that we have to make on our landing piece. Remember, we only have 1 piece of carpet for that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center my pad up here to give me a bird's eye view of what I'm looking at. Okay, let's double check, looking good. We're going to lock that in. So now I got a good view of where my stair runner is going to go up and where I need to be. Now, my landing is centered, it looks good, and I just want to double check. As long as this is centered with that pad and that pad is centered to the stairs and this is centered to the landing, we are good to go. So, we know that we are 6.5 inches away from here, but the baseboard is farther away. So what we want to do is we really want to just add 1 inch to this landing. Because if this is centered and we know our carpet is 1 inch bigger all the way around on the landing, we want to add 1 inch here. Okay, so I know we're 6.5 there, so we want to be at 5.5. I'm going to mark it with a pencil. And it's 1 inch away from the baseboard. I'm 6.5 inches to my pencil mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from my pencil mark with a tape measure, and I'm going to measure all the way along, over the edge, underneath, and down the riser. Now remember, I'd rather be here, but there's an angle over there. So I'm going to take our tape measure. If you have someone to help, have someone to help. Remember, you only have one. I've got it on that line. Now from that line, I'm 3 feet to the top here. So that's a good sign, right? I can use that. So now I'm just gonna line up at 3 feet, right? Wrap it around, pinch underneath, go down, says 45.5. But because there's carpet here, I'm gonna cut it 45.75. Let's do it one more time. You wanna see that one more time? Okay, let's do that one more time. We're gonna line it here up on our pencil mark. We're 1 inch farther than our underpad. We're going to bring it up to the nose. My nose says 3 feet. I'm going to use that to my advantage in case my tape measure gets loose, right? Oops, in case I'm working by myself. I know that I'm around 3 feet right there. I'm going to pinch down underneath, nice and tight. I've got 44.75 now. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut it at 45. So I'd rather have extra than be short. Remember, these landings are 1 piece and special order. Okay, well, let's roll out the landing and have a look. Now these landings come in 1 piece. It's got the special angle on it here. You can see because that wall angle's there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little bit of the roll out of it, so it sits a little straighter. Okay, that looks nice. Now I'm gonna flip it over. What do we say we were gonna cut that at? 45, right? So I've got my pencil. Got my tape measure. Make sure you've taken the curl out of this a little bit. Straighter the better. I'm gonna cut it 45 inches long. Okay, these stair runners come 4 feet by 4 feet plus whatever width you need for a cutout. So what did I say we need? 45 inches, right? There's 45 there. There's 45 there. All right, I'm gonna take a straight edge. And I'm gonna line those two guys up. Okay, I'm gonna take a really great pair of shears. If you need a great pair of shears, the description's down below. And I'm just gonna cut along that line. Now when I cut, I always like to cut from the binding in on both sides. Okay, so we're 45 inches. Let's check that out. Okay. Let's pray to the carpet gods that we didn't make a mistake. Let's line it up, see how she fits. Okay. Now there's no harm if we have to cut this a little bit, that's great. It's better than having to replace the riser. Now listen, there is a trick that if you cut it short, you could always just staple this under the nose and replace this riser with one of your extra pieces of cut off. Ooh, good tip, Keith. And you know what? I like where we are with the 45. I like where we are with the 45. Now we're gonna cut that pad back, don't worry about that. I like where we are for the center. Looks pretty good. I think we might stick with the 45 inch. Now worst case scenario, if the 45 inch was too long and we should have, let's say we should have been 44 3/4, we'll be a little long there. It's not, a 1/4 inch is not gonna be a big deal. But you gotta remember, we've got a big nose here. We've gotta get under there. And what we don't wanna do is we'd rather be a little long than a little short. So let's just give it a go. You guys are watching in real time. I'm not gonna edit any of this out. We're gonna line it up there real nice. Have a look how nice that is. We're gonna line that right up. Now we're gonna put a little glue in here after with a little glue gun, just because that's the only part that we're not, that's not one piece, right? We're one piece on the bottom, we're one piece for the landing, and then one piece for the upper 8 stairs. That's one of the benefits you get when you buy a stair runner from directcarpet.com. One piece. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on with the task at hand. Now, you can take this, bang that down, get that in there nice and tight, wiggle, lock it in. Okay, that's locked in. Let's do the other side. Now, I put 2 staples on the other side because I want to get this side, make sure she's down, nice and locked in. I'm gonna push that in to match that. Remember, we're gonna put a little glue there after. We'll show you that later. We're gonna bang that down and we're gonna lock that in. Okay, and now I'm just gonna wiggle behind the pile and staple the rest of this in. Okay, make sure she's nice and secure. Looks good, looks good. Now, we're gonna pull this back the same way we would do any stair. Okay, we're gonna pre-form that. We wanna get that right under there, nice and tight. 2 in the end. All the way along, 2, nice and tight. Okay, feel underneath, feels good. All right, now that we got it tight under the nose, we're gonna get our tape measure, our kicker, and our staple gun. This is where we got to kick it a little bit and get it lined up to our pencil mark, right? And then we got to make sure that she's straight on this wall here and on that other far wall there. So let's measure over. Right now we're at 5 1/4. There we're at 5, so we would want to twist over, right? Now remember, we got this little angle here. I'm just going to follow the contour and cut that little piece of pad off. And then what I'll do is I cut it 1 inch back, and we're all good. All right. So, you can see we cut the pad back on an angle to fit the angle of this stair. It's a unique landing, or a unique, yes, I guess it would be a unique landing, right? Now, we're gonna measure over, make sure that we're on point before we secure it in, right? We've gotta lock it down at the front here. We're gonna tighten up. We are gonna kick. No pressure this time, we are kicking on the kick. Right? Example, 2, 3. Now we're getting it nice and tight. We're checking the measurements. We're gonna straighten it out. Okay, no wall is ever straight, no house is ever straight. So that's 5 and 5. You know what? Let's check the measurements over here. Okay, so we've got tension. Where's our pencil mark? Our pencil mark's right there, so we're almost bang right on. So let's check the measurement here. 6 1/4. Guess what we are over there? 6 1/4. What do we hear? 5. What do we hear? 5 1/8. Now don't worry about 1/8 of an inch too much. Look at it and see if it looks good with your eye. Keep some tension here. Check it here. 6 1/4. 6 1/4. Tension. Let's double check here again. 5 1/4, 5 1/8. I'll twist out just a little bit. Again. Okay, I'm good. Now I'm locking it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That whole corner's locked in. Not going anywhere. This line looks nice. Check it here. 6 1/4. Now we're just gonna catch up a little bit of tension on the right side to 6 1/4. Right? Check it. 6 1/4. Lock it in all the way along. Staple between the binding and the carpet. Rub out those staple marks. Looks great. Okay, let's do the same along this wall. Now, we already know it's tight. I don't have to put any tension on. I'm just gonna get those staples in there. Now, if you don't want to put this many staples in your hardwood, don't do it. I just like nice clean lines. Okay, that looks nice. Done. Now we'll just concentrate on cutting that excess off and finishing that off. Okay, so our landing is nice, it's lined up, it's tight, it's straight. Now, I'm just gonna get rid of this extra piece. And I am going to put some tension on here. Now this would be no different than the stair that we did in phase 1 or the first video, is we're going to put tension on and we're going to put our staples straight up and down because we have to cut this mess out of there, okay? I'm just going to put some tension. Need staples. Okay? Tension. Tension. Staples straight up and down. Tension. One's good enough. Then you know what we'll do? We'll score that. So she's gonna be perfect. All right. I'm gonna take a good blade, good knife. Okay, we're gonna cut from left to right and right to left and meet up in the middle. Instead of cutting on the 45, we're gonna cut down a little bit more flat like we did on the bottom stair. Here we go, to try to avoid those staples. Here we go. I didn't hear any staples, did you? Look at that. Perfect. Wipe out the fluff. Now, on that 45-degree angle, finish the stapling. This is done. Oh, finish around the corner here. Very nice. We are done. Okay, so we finished our first 4 stairs in the first video. In the second video right now, we're just finishing up our landing. It is done, it's in perfect position. Now for the third video, we're gonna do those 8 straight stairs going up to the top with the secret at the end, how to finish your top riser. I'm Shannon with directcarpet.com, and make sure you check out video 3.